Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about what you need to do to get better at chess, especially what it takes to get to the rating of 2000. And to do that, we will look at a game by one of my top students. But first, let me give you a couple of general points and we'll come back and review them. So, how do you get to 2000? So, there are a number of key things, but I came up with four very useful rules for now. You need to be willing to make sacrifices. Sometimes sacrificing a pawn, sometimes sacrifice an exchange, sometimes maybe give up a queen for one or two pieces. Number two, piece activity is important. If both sides have the same number of pieces, but your pieces are better, it gives you an advantage. And there is part two, which is you want your opponent's pieces to be worse. Point three, piece values connected to point number two. Piece values are relative. If you have a bishop which is not doing too much, the bishop is not worth 3 points, he is worth less. And number four, know endgames and know which endgames are winning. Be able to look at a position, ask yourself if all the pieces disappear and there are just pawns and kings left, is it winning for me or not? Okay, now that we talked about this, we're going to look at a game by one of my top students. His name is Sudeep. Sudeep just crossed 1700 USCF. He gained almost 500 points in the past 9 months, which is very impressive, and he keeps getting better and better. And this is a game which he played online 2 days ago. The time control is game 10, so some mistakes will be made, and we're going to learn both from the mistakes and from the very good ideas that we will see in this game. He played against another 2000, chess.com, and the time control was 10 minutes. So let's take a look. d4, d5, c4, we have the queen's gambit. Pawn e6, queen's gambit declined. Knight f3, knight f6, nothing special. Both sides develop their pieces. Pawn g3. This is the beginning of the Catalan opening, where white will put his bishop on this diagonal. Black plays c6 to restrain the white bishop. Sudeep continues with his plan. Black gets ready to castle. Sudeep castles, black castles. Sudeep plays knight g2 to support the pawn and maybe prepare e4 later. Black plays a6 because he has a dream of playing b5. It's a misguided dream. Usually black likes doing something like this, maybe something like this, knight d7, rook c8, and break with c5, or at least challenge with c5. a6 is a right idea but wrong opening. Usually you see it more in the French with the white pieces, or with the Slav, defense. Sudeep plays queen c2, which is a very nice move. He connects the rooks. He gets ready to play pawn e4, and he supports this pawn. And black plays g6. Very important, if you notice, all the black pawns on the light squares. Which means, A, the dark squares might potentially be weak, but number two, the light square bishop is not very good. He cannot do too many things, and this is important going back to piece activity that we talked about. So he plays e4, he knows this is the right idea in these positions. Black takes, Sudeep takes back with the knight. Now we have more space, this pawn is gone, our pieces are active. Black plays b5, going along with his plan to challenge the space advantage and maybe play bishop b7. Sudeep supports the pawn with b3. A lot of people, this is somewhat lower level stuff, but a lot of people tend to take just because they can. Taking does not help us. It just loses some of our extra space. So Deep's move is good, because if black takes, he will end up with two isolated pawns, which are potential weaknesses. And then Deep would take back and still have more space. Another point behind this move, we can maybe put our bishop on this diagonal. Black continues with his plan bishop b7. And Deep plays a very nice move, pawn c5. Again, remember, piece activity is important. We block, with this move, we block this bishop from being active. He's blocked by his own pawn, and this pawn might become a potential target for own pieces. If we bring the knight here, for example. Black plays queen d7, which makes zero sense, because he's trying to bring the rook here to attack the pawn, but the pawn is defended by a knight, so it's very hard to attack it. So Deep improves his bishop with tempo, attacks the rook, takes advantage of the weak dark squares. Black improves his rook. So Deep brings the rook here, which is okay, but I suspect the reason Deep did this is he is defending this pawn, so that then his knight could start moving to e5. Black moves the queen off the line. By the way, notice what the computer suggests. Once we move this pawn to c5, d5 became an outpost. If the knight, let's go back, if the knight lands on d5, it's very hard for us to do something with that knight. Outposts are important. If you compare the activity of black knights, this knight is worth more than 3 points. This one is not doing anything. He's worth a lot less than 3. Don't just look at the piece values. Look what the pieces are doing. So Deep supports c5. He doesn't really need to. Computer wants him to take because computer realizes that this knight is about to go to a nice square. So Deep plays b4 instead. Black wants to open the rook with a5, which was another downside of b4. We are allowing black to activate his rook. So Deep supports his pawn on b4. Again, computer wants him to take for the same reason. This knight might get to d5. And black makes a critical mistake. He needs to activate his rook. Instead, he just closes everything. And now it's not clear how this rook will ever play chess. So Deep improves his knight, which is fine. Again, he needs to trade. Because this knight is about to show up here. Black improves his knight. And so Deep gains more space with f4. It's not a mistake per se. It's a fine move. There was a very sharp line connected to knight d6, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with pawn f4. Black pretends to improve his rook. The problem, again, we have more space. Having more space is good because it means that black pieces have trouble finding things to do. This rook is not really doing anything here, besides for providing potential protection from these two pieces. So Deep decides to activate the second rook. It might come behind the first rook, it might come somewhere else. Very good move. Black realizes that he needs to trade some pieces. So Deep, for the time being, avoids trade. Black repeats. They repeat once. Again, here computer wants to take, but what So Deep is doing is absolutely fine. Black keeps repeating because there is not much else. So Deep finally decides to take, and black makes an instructive mistake. He takes back right away, which is what a lot of people do. When you take something from theirs, they take back. But notice, if we go back, this bishop controlled that square. Who wants to get to that square? Our knight does. If our knight gets here, there would be a very good knight. So black, before taking back, needs to get rid of this knight. But instead he takes, and now Sudeep has a beautiful, beautiful knight sitting on d6. Again, looking at piece activity, this knight is worth a lot more than 3 points. The rook is attacked, the bishop is attacked. Black realizes that this knight is worth a lot, and he moves the bishop, willing to give up his rook for this knight. If you look at the top 3 computer moves, none of them a knight takes rook, because again, it's a lot more, there is a lot more to chess than the rook being worth 5 and knight being worth 3. In this position, this rook is not doing anything. So deep took, which is absolutely fine. Nothing wrong in that move. We just win material. Obviously, black takes back, and now we're up, so we need to convert. So there are many good moves. So deep activates the rook. Black trades, which is probably not great, because now the rooks get an open line. Obviously, we take with this pawn to open up the rooks. Black puts a knight on d5 and tries to block the rooks. For now, this is working. So Sudeep eliminates that knight. It was a very strong piece. Also, trades are good. Black took with the e-pawn. Sudeep plays rook d4, which is fine, nothing wrong with this. Computer wants to start working on the king side because that's where we have more space. Black improves his rook. Sudeep improves his queen. Black bishop was terrible, so he's trying to come into the world. Sudeep plays queen f3. He's thinking about preparing to do things. Bishop c8, black bishop final activates. And Sudeep sets a mini trap. A lot of people would go and grab the bishop, grab the pawn with the bishop, but then the bishop just gets trapped. He has no way out. So cute trap by Sudeep. Black is rated 2000, so he does not fall for it. He puts his bishop in the middle of the board. Sudeep kicks it, and now this is very instructive. This is a very nice bishop. Sudeep simplifies the position, approved by the computer, gives up the rook. Again, be willing to sacrifice, because the resulting position is completely winning. We only up a pawn, but computer says +4. We have a better rook, we have a better queen, and we have a plan of expansion. Black plays rook d8, and look what Sudeep does. He doesn't trade rooks, because then black will get an open line. Instead, he plays rook d6. If black takes, we have a very nice passed pawn on d6. If black does not take, we are going to double on the d file. Piece activity is important. Black takes, Sudeep takes with the e-pawn, and now this is an amazing pawn, and with the help of the queen, it might become a second queen. Black plays queen c8, Sudeep invades, he's getting ready to push. Black offers a queen trade, which Sudeep can do. Trading queens is absolutely winning, but he doesn't need to rush. He brings his king first. Notice black cannot take, because when we take back, we are going to queen, and nothing will stop us. So black plays f6, so now he wants to take. So Sudeep checks first, which is fine. Black offers a queen trade again, and again, trading queens is absolutely winning, but Sudeep checks first. Black moves, and now Sudeep realizes that black is about to create counterplay. If black gets all those checks, it will be annoying. So Sudeep forces a queen trade, again, approved by the computer. Again, black cannot take, because then we queen, so black plays a chess move. And now Sudeep goes into winning endgame. Why is it winning? Because we have this pawn. Which means black king is stuck in this area trying to stop the pawn, and we're free to do whatever. So h4, Sudeep is trying to find a way in for his king. g5, okay, like everything loses. Takes, and Sudeep simply now brings his king to pick up the pawn. The problem is black cannot really do too much about it. King e6, king e4, king moves, and then we pick it up. Let me show you really quickly what happens if black tries to control this. So let's say here we play king e4. He plays here, and we can distract the king. King goes here, we can pick up this pawn, takes, here, and this pawn will queen. For example, here, he tries to stop us, and we have a position, and this is an easy win. So again, to summarize, if you're trying to get to 2000, remember those things. Be willing to sacrifice, as the rook sacrifice of Sudeep for the bishop. Piece activity is important. You want your pieces to be good. You want your knights to be on nice outposts. If you can make your opponent's pieces worse, it's good to do them. If their piece has potential to become good, trade it off. Again, don't focus on piece values too much. You need to know them, but you need to know when to not follow those rules. And lastly, know which endgames are winning and which are not. Be able to picture the position. Ask yourself, if only pawns and kings are left, am I winning or not? I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, congratulations to Sudeep for crossing 1700 and giving us a lot of instructive material. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back soon. Thank you.